Stava a succedere nel bordello.
All right, what's going on, folks? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to another iteration of the pod, episode 243 of the Bordello. Sam Adamo coming at you. Sorry we are a day late this week. I do not enjoy being late. I've enjoyed being relatively punctual every Wednesday over the past several months for you guys, but it's been a bit of a weird week. Wanted to wait until after the Italy game on Tuesday earlier this week to record this so that we can kind of give a full breakdown. And thank God we did, because it would have been a very different tone of podcast had we ripped it earlier in the week. And we're going to get to that very shortly. We have a lot to discuss on the pod this week. And of course, the Azzurri will be featuring prominently among our topics of discussion. But yeah, I was hoping to maybe put this out on time Wednesday, but had a little change of schedule this week. I had to go to Ottawa on Wednesday this week, due to a scheduling change. So yeah, I had to go do a show there, and so this is only going to be recorded later on Wednesday, and it'll be out a day late. So apologies for that. But thank you for your patience. It's been real tough, man. I'm alone. I'm rolling solo here because producer extraordinaire D'Lo, who might be making a return soon, maybe next week. We've been in touch. We've been talking and keeping in touch every couple of days. But he's been going through fucking hell, man, with his knee surgery, which we've been like talking about and teasing on the pod for a few months now. He tore it back in the spring, had an opportunity to get the reparation of his torn ACL done back in May. He held off because he was going to Italy this summer. And frankly, I didn't even ask him. I don't know if he'll really care that I'm bringing this up. I don't know why he would. I didn't ask him if I could talk about this, but I mean, fuck it. It's something that's going on in the dynamic of the pod. So I'll just share what's going on, because it's a pretty fucked story. Maybe he can kind of get into this a little more when he comes back on at some point. But he only got operated on a couple weeks ago because he wanted to wait until the summer was over and until he got back from Italy instead of doing it sooner, which I had suggested that he do. Granted, it was, partially because I thought it would just be better to get it done sooner and to, have it done for and out of the way by the time school starts. And just, I was also coming from a thinking that the sooner he did it, the better. So that was part of it. But, a large part of me pushing him to do it was because in my mind I thought, it would increase his chance of playing soccer next season. It would expedite his return to the field. Like that was somehow the most important thing in his life, like a full-time student in a profession. Like that was the thing that was most important, that he had to consider the kind of above everything else, was when he would be able to return to the field, But he didn't get it done back in May. He only did it a couple weeks ago, so the recovery's been a little tough for him. And he informed me today that he learned the reason for this now, which is apparently he had partially also done his meniscus. And they didn't know, they being the doctors, until they were actually operating on him. And they decided, we'll just go in and tinker with it a little bit. We'll fix it. And they didn't tell him. So they sent the kid home without any advisory of the actual procedure that they had, effectively completed on him. So they sent the fucking kid home without giving him any instruction on how, the recovery for a double meniscus and ACL tear differs from just an ACL tear. Turned out he couldn't walk on it, or he wasn't supposed to walk on it for the first couple of weeks, and was supposed to wear a full knee brace or a full leg brace or whatever the fuck. Something crazy. And he just didn't know. So he was walking on it, and he's like, fuck, no wonder this thing is really, you know, like excruciatingly painful. Like, it all makes sense now. But for a while, he didn't know. He was just walking, trying to, in crazy amounts of pain. So we're kind of just, figuring out what's going to be, what things are going to look like next week. Maybe I'll go to him. We're not sure. But anyway, so this week I'm solo. It's been, it's been a weird first week back from Miami, just kind of getting back into the groove. And, I think I have COVID again, maybe for like the second time in the last 2 months. Apparently, anytime you get a cold now, it's COVID, because I got, 2 Pfizer shots 2 years ago, and Bill Gates has absolutely shot my immune system to hell. So now anytime I catch a bug, it's COVID, apparently. I don't actually know that it's COVID. I got whatever bug is going around now, like end of July, after Just for Laughs. I was cooked. Now, apparently my mom has something. She was like the only person in our house who hadn't gotten it. It's caught up to her now, and now I'm kind of keeping it at bay by cooking up like peroxide with boiled water to try to decontaminate my nose to keep it at bay, because I got a soccer final with my Division 6 team in a few days, and I'm trying to be in top shape for that. So we got to keep this at bay. Despite that, despite the fact that it's crazy scary hours right now and I should be going to bed to protect my immune system, I'm here late on a Wednesday, putting the pod out a day late so that we could talk about the pretty eventful week that's occurred in the world of Italian football in particular. We're going to be focusing, I think, a little more on Calcio on the pod this week, which I think a lot of you guys still like. I'm going to be honest. I that's the inkling I'm getting. That seems to be where the world is pushing me. So, ask and you shall receive. Ask and I will deliver. But yeah, I mean, yeah, fuck Bill Gates, man. He's cooked me. I feel like such a sucker for getting both the shots now, too. Anytime anyone asks me, are you vaccinated? I'm just ashamed to say yes. I'm embarrassed about it. Like, I don't want to admit it. You vaccinated? I mean, you go, yeah. But I don't specify what it is. I go, yeah, I got the measles. If anyone asks, well, what did you get? I might say I got a measles shot when I was a kid, Like, I would just avoid talking about how I got the COVID shot at all costs, just to avoid the shame, Just any... I mean, no one really asks... Fuck, no one asks that anymore, huh? That really went out the window real quick. It was like a 1.5 year thing where we all cared about it. And the last 6 months of it being a thing that people would ask you, everyone knew it was kind of a charade where, people knew it didn't work. And fuck, man. Fuck. So, I'm just taking every game I can get, I'm taking every match that I'm able to play in stride, Like, I have my final coming up next week. It's Division 6 soccer. It's 7 levels below below where I was a year ago on the pyramid. But I'm taking it as a blessing because I have not had a heart attack on the field, and that's good. It's a good thing. I'm very grateful for that. I've been expecting it any day now, and it hasn't happened. So, because I'm a runner. I do a lot of running. I require a lot of cardiovascular endurance. If there's any blockage right now, I might be the first to go. So I've been expecting something bad to happen, and it hasn't. So I'll take every game as a fucking blessing, even if it's the Division 6 local regional final. So, yeah, and before we do get into it, I just want to shout out La PICAI once again. Shout them out. I mean, that sounds fucking super try-hard. But more of a tip of the hat to the PICAI. Not even a tip of the hat. I don't know how I would describe this. An FYI, I suppose. If you're listening in Montreal and you happen to have a kid, I'm banking on like the 5 Montreal listeners that have children that are old enough to take advantage of this sort of thing, to maybe like respond to this call to action. I've not been paid for this. I'm not a big fan of free ads, but I just like the institution. So I just wanted to shout out La PICAI, the Italian school here in Montreal, which takes place on Saturdays. I've been informed that their registration process is ongoing. It's still going on. It finishes next weekend, the 23rd of September. So you have about a week if you have any kids that you want to register in Italian classes online at PICAI.org, PICAI. It's a great little organization. I took part in it when I was a youngin', So and many of my friends, my girlfriend did it, and many friends of mine did it, and many of them are very successful, tax-paying members of society. So I'm not really a very, I don't know what I'm really offering to society. I don't know that I'm a very respectable example of what could become of your kid if you send him to La PICAI, but I know a lot of other people who are living much more respectable lives than myself, much more humble existences, polite, off the grid, and, educated. And it all started there, from sending them to school one extra day of the week. So if you're in Montreal, you got kids, you're listening to this, send them to the school. Registration's ongoing. So guys, international break's done. And at one point during the last Azzurri game against the Ukraine, I thought this was going to be a celebratory pod, and I thought the episode would be called "The Boys Are Back" or something to that effect. Now, the tone of the pod is decidedly a little more tame now. We're going to be a little more realistic. We're going to take it easy. We're going to chill. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves here, but we need to kind of take some positives out of the international break as a whole. It's been a bit of a roller coaster of a week, and I think I'm going to do well here to quote my lovely lady, who after the game on Tuesday this week, the other day, when we beat the Ukraine 2-1, pretty handily, but still 1-goal game. At the end of the game, we were inviting pressure, as you do when you're up by 1 goal. My girlfriend messaged me, grande sospiro, deep breath, and she pointed something out to me, which is because I guess we've in the past couple of years gotten fucked over so many times in qualifiers. Qualifiers, by the way, are stressful for any country that's partaking in it most of the time. It's generally not for the big boys who are just like levels above everyone else. We, Italy, even in tournaments, even for tournaments that we've handily qualified for, oftentimes, wouldn't, and even if we finish in first place in a group, we often haven't like dominated games like England have in the past. Like England, for example, dominate qualifiers, they'll win games 4-5-0, and they lose in tournaments because Jesus Christ, I don't know if it's the pressure that gets to them, or more realistically, it's probably just because when faced against like better opposition who are tactically organized and who have a bunch of players who play like, for top clubs and have good football brains, they're able to just compete and wear them down. And it's not like when England plays a team like Cyprus and wins 5-0, because they just play all-out attacking football, the type of thing which doesn't necessarily work against a team like Italy, who are much better, like us, right? Who are much better at inviting pressure. So I don't know what it is, but a lot of other countries, like even Spain, that do sometimes tend to like run away with all their games in qualifiers. That generally, at least for my lifetime, according to my recollection, I don't really remember too many occasions where that's been the case for us. Maybe the last time when qualifying for Euro 2020, we, qualified pretty handily and won all our games. But otherwise, qualifiers are always tough for Montenegro, Switzerland, Albania, Cyprus, Greece, and Italy. Sometimes, again, we've almost always qualified. The key is almost. Until a couple years ago, we qualified for absolutely every major tournament for like 50 years. And and it was never an issue. But it's always been stressful. And the thing is, when you do that, when you qualify that way, by working for it, it's a bit of a gamble. It can be a bit of a gamble. You have to sweat it out, and it usually pays off. But, hypothetically, it could not if, one simple game doesn't go your way, like the Jorginho penalty miss against Switzerland a year and a half ago, or I guess it's almost 2 years ago now, costing us that game against Switzerland, which ultimately cost us top spot in that group, which ultimately forced us to play Macedonia in a playoff, which we ultimately capitulated. You understand how it's like these little things that build up over time. There's a butterfly effect that happens from having not just run away with games. Typically, again, we've managed, but it could happen that you don't when you leave it to the last minute. You're winning matches by a goal. You can usually keep the other team at bay. But hypothetically, if Ukraine had equalized the other day, we'd be in real shit right now. Like real serious shit. And there'd be mounted psychological pressure on the team and Spalletti, the new coach. And for an entire month and a half, you, me, everyone listening, Italians everywhere who are interested in the, progression of the team would have all kind of freaked out and begun to, resign themselves to the impending possibility, I guess, that we wouldn't have qualified for the Euro as Euro champions after having not qualified for the World Cup as Euro champions. But that didn't happen. We got the win. But the point is, when you don't have a large margin of error and when shit's gone off the wall a couple of times in recent years, I think we all as fans, and I think the players as well, might have a little bit of a monkey on our back, maybe overthink shit a little bit. We have a right to be paranoid is the point, right? Just the way that it's gone of late in the past, fucking couple of years. So it's almost like you were waiting for something bad to happen. We were up 2-0 in that game. Davide Fratesi scored 2 goals. And we'll get to the lineup and everything in a sec here. But we're up 2 goals, and it looked like we were going to be, very comfortably running away with it. And then, we concede. Ukraine scored just before half. And you think, this is where it all turns now. Again, every game is random. We could have scored another 3 goals in the second half and won the game 5-1. But and if we had done that, which we didn't, but if we had, then we would look at that, brief moment of panic that we had when Yarmolenko scored that goal for Ukraine and said, that was a little over, that was a little overstated. Our paranoia was unnecessary there. But you can't help it. You can't help it when shit's gone down the toilet. As recently as a few days before against, a weaker side in Macedonia, you have a right to wonder what's going on. If you, grant a team an in to come back into the game, and that's what we did. And I don't know about you guys, man. When Yarmolenko scored that goal, I really thought, okay, this is probably fine, but yeah, I don't know. You do see how this could all play out very poorly because we'd seen it before. So just to have risen above that and to have, buckled down and gotten the result is very big. And look, we are in the driver's seat now. We have a game in hand. We're second place in the group, or third, I think, but we're level on points with the Ukraine, and we have a game in hand. So I guess that would put us in second. Basically, we just have to win games now. We have to beat the Ukraine again. We have to beat Macedonia. We have to, cruise to a win against Malta. And if we could beat England at Wembley, which we, have a real chance of doing, it'll be a big result. And but that would. It would be a big result, but it is very doable, and that would really help us, I think, secure secure qualification. We just got to finish in the top 2 places in the group. We could still finish in first place. It's not, it's not over yet. England did stumble. I believe they drew the Ukraine this international break. So, currently now, with where things are at, shit's looking up, which is excellent. But look, like, I don't just want to talk about the actual results here and discuss how things went just, in classifica and just talk about the points and such. Let's actually talk about what we witnessed. Let me just adjust this fucking headset here. Hang on. God damn. My hair is curly, bro. It's growing out. It's hard to keep this headset on now. You guys like the new backdrop here? I don't know. We're trying something else out. I'm in a comfortable chair here by myself. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to make this a thing if when D'Lo gets to come back in the studio anytime soon. I have to set him up in an equally comfortable chair so I'm not in this great like executive lounger that I'm in right now, and just put him on like a hard dining room chair where we're gonna have to give him some kind of, I don't know what we'll do. Maybe we'll lay down an air mattress or something, just something comfortable that would enable him to feel uniquely relaxed and comfortable. Because this is a very unique chair that I find myself in right now. Whatever I seat him on would have to be unique as well. Anyway, but so I actually want to talk about like the break as a whole. So Spalletti in the first game played Ciro Immobile as a starter, as the starting striker. He played Brian Cristante in the midfield as a starter. And I believe Alessio Romagnoli was one of the starting center backs, a move which I didn't hate. I could be fucking that up. I could be misremembering. But as far as I recall, that's what he did. Di Marco started both games at left back. Di Lorenzo started both games at right back. And he gave Zaccagni the start in both games, which I think was exciting. I think it actually paid dividends in the second game in particular. I called it, by the way, a couple weeks ago. I suspected that he would probably, bring in a guy like Zaccagni real quickly. Whether the injury to Chiesa had anything to do with that, it isn't really relevant, and I don't wish to, address that. I'll just pretend that didn't happen. I'll claim it. I will claim it as a moral victory and say I was right. But Ciro Immobile started as the striker against Macedonia, and he got the one goal. But it was, kind of a garbage goal. It was a goal that any striker who was in that position would have finished. And I get that that's a moot point. You got to be in the right position to begin with, but realistically, it wasn't like, it didn't require great football IQ to score the goal that he scored. It was a messy garbage goal, effectively. And so we go up 1-0. Macedonia equalized late on a free kick. And then, and then people start calling for Gigio Donnarumma after the game to get replaced by Guglielmo Vicario of Tottenham, who's been showing pretty well for them in the Premier League. Decent start to the season. I like him a lot. I've liked him for years. I liked him when he was at Cagliari as a backup, who came in at the end of the season in like 2019 or something, or 2020, whenever that was. I was all in on him. I was sold. Seriously. If you go back, excuse me, years in the podcast archives, which I know nobody will, and the only time anyone's going to do that ever is going to be one day if I ever get like anything good and someone decides to pull up a clip of me saying that, Inuits get drunk, clumsily, and that is coming, by the way. That's going to happen in 3 years, and, it doesn't take a fucking brain surgeon to see how that all plays out. I'm still not taking the episode down, but anyway, that's another point. Where the fuck was I? Guglielmo Vicario. People are calling for him to take over as the goalkeeper for the Italian national team over Gigio Donnarumma. I think we have to realize that we have it pretty good. We have it pretty good in goal. Donnarumma's like one of the best goalkeepers on earth still. One of the best shot stoppers. Had a couple really good saves against the Ukraine. One in particular on the goal, he made a brilliant save. And frankly, I mean, the play should have, it should not have gone further than that. Federico Di Marco really fucked up in that game against Ukraine. Just trying to play it cute, off the Gigio save instead of just smoking it out of bounds, which is the right move. I mean, anyone would have known to do that. Kind of an inexperienced decision, I guess. I hate how tactically I'm breaking this game down, how seriously I'm breaking this down. But I only really do this for the Italian national team, guys, because I'm assuming this is a thing that you guys collectively all care about the most. But on that play, Gigio made a great fucking save, like an incredible save from point blank range. And again, Vicario's a good shot stopper too. But Donnarumma's been doing it for longer at the top level. He's arguably still one of the best goalies in the world. It's crazy to want to oust him. But then there was this thinking that because the second game of the break was to be played at San Siro and there was going to be a lot of pressure, it might make sense to shield him because he's not used to fucking getting booed by Italian fans at San Siro. It's been happening for 2 years now. I don't understand it. Can we maybe save booing Donnarumma for friendlies maybe, or games that aren't important, instead of games when he has to focus in a desperate attempt to try to claw us back into into a promising position in the group so that we don't fail to qualify for a second consecutive major tournament? Can we maybe do that? Why the fuck are people booing him? Because Mino Raiola was his agent and sought money for his player at PSG? I found that kind of nuts. That people started invoking that as being a reason to replace him. It really felt weird. He's not going anywhere probably as long as he's around. Unless something crazy happens, like he gets hurt and some stud, who we may not even know about yet, steps in at some point down the line. I don't know how else he loses his spot. The thing with him is, look, his name is Gianluigi. So we have this weird idea that every goalkeeper who plays for the Italian national team is going to play till he's 40 because Buffon did, and he won a World Cup. Not at 40, but he won a World Cup, and he played till he was 40, pretty much, for the Italian national team. And Dino Zoff did it. Dino Zoff won a World Cup at 40. We're used to having a generational goalkeeper, and it's we feel that the baton has been passed. And I think the reason for that, honest to God, is just the fact that his name is Gianluigi. If his name were not Gianluigi, I actually think there would be a greater chance of experimenting with other goalkeepers just cause. If another goalkeeper gets hot, you might, throw him into the fray. For a friendly or something, try something out. Maybe punish Donnarumma for a mistake. But because his name is Gianluigi, we kind of hold him in the same regard as Buffon. And frankly, I'm okay with that. Because there's nothing wrong with protecting and shielding your goalkeeper and just letting him get confident and not have to worry about whether he'll get yanked if he has a mediocre showing or makes a mistake, which he didn't really make that big a mistake of in the Macedonia game. They're saying he should have had that free kick. I mean, it was a free kick on goal from not that far out. What are you going to do, But I kind of got sidetracked. I was talking about Immobile, guys. Look, Luciano Spalletti started Ciro Immobile in the first game. He's the captain of the national team currently on seniority. I would have made it Giovanni Di Lorenzo because Giovanni Di Lorenzo is going to start pretty much every game that he's healthy for the next 2 years at the very least. He's the captain of Napoli, the best team in Italy. He was Spalletti's captain, and frankly, his job is safest. He's not really ever going to come off, right? Except, for maybe fresh legs. But he's a mainstay in the team. He's arguably maybe the first name on the team sheet. Chiesa, if he's healthy. But Di Lorenzo's the right back if Di Lorenzo's healthy right now. So I would have made it him. Currently, it's Immobile. I think Immobile is not going to be the captain in a few months because I think Immobile might not even be in the team in a few months. But a lot of people were freaking out after that happened. I was not happy, okay? But we can talk about that, in a sec here. And his merits as a striker can be argued, but I think it's a pretty clear, open and shut case now as to why he may not be the best guy to start for us currently, given his track record. But again, that aside, a lot of people were upset when he started in the first game. I was not thrilled, but I did expect it to an extent. It was almost like Spalletti was saying, look, let's give it a shot. We'll see how he plays. I do want to see it, right? Like, Spalletti's not stupid. He watched the old national team's games under, Mancini. He saw what the issues were. He understands what Ciro Immobile is as a player. He's tried to coach center backs of his, to mark him, and has looked for and found his weaknesses, right, over the, course of a few years now, coaching against him in Italy. At Inter, at Roma, recently at Napoli. So, it's not like he's unfamiliar with who Ciro Immobile is. Let's call it what it is. Immobile is a great finisher. That's about it. He kind of stifles the play when he plays. Often. But again, Spalletti was aware of this going into the game. He knew that was a risk, but he was probably like, look, he's like on paper the best Italian striker, just, according to the numbers. So we'll start him because, one-on-one, when in the box, he's one of the best finishers. But the issue is, like, he seldom ever gets a chance to finish in the box with his foot, which is how he almost always scores at Lazio. In the box with the foot. Like he will occasionally score headers, is my point. He side foots the ball into a corner most of the time. And he does it well, but that's all he does. He offers less dynamism than a lot of the other guys available. He does not offer size. He does not offer that big man hold-up play. He just doesn't. He doesn't. And what I wanted to see was how Spalletti reacted in the Ukraine game. He made changes, which took balls. It was also like the clear and obvious move, but it still took balls, to get rid of the guy who you just named captain in favor of a guy like Raspadori, who we knew pretty well from Napoli, who's not as good a finisher as Ciro Immobile, does not score as many goals, but is a better player. Like, he's a better footballer. Does that make sense? So, as a striker, he might even be better. He's certainly a better option. I'll tell you why, because more interesting things happen and more chances get created through Raspadori's runs and movement and involvement in the play. And it feels like the only people that ever come to Ciro Immobile's defense are like Lazio fans because they just like him. He's a good player. Like, he's a good striker, but he's not, he's not the best for the team, and he's not even, the most contemporary striker that we have available. So I think when Matteo Retegui came in later in the game for Raspadori, which, by the way, that probably tells you something too. That also sends a message. Spalletti had seen about all he needed to have seen from Immobile, I would assume, and said, we're going to throw in, the tall man instead. And he's not fucking Peter Crouch. Retegui is, like, pretty skilled on the ball. He didn't look bad. There was one, there were a couple plays that he impressed me on. One in particular, like a rush at the end of the match. He created an opening for a pass, which he lay off. Fuck, I forget who he laid it off to. I don't know if it was Gnonto or who it was. But Raspadori had come off, so it wasn't him. But in any event, Retegui is shrewd in the box. He just moves better, and he seems to connect with his teammates better. And I guess it's just the way he moves and the way his football brain works as an attacker. So I don't know if we're going to see much more of Ciro Immobile. I like him as a guy, He's a nice family. Like I don't know. My girlfriend likes his wife. You know, like I think a lot of, young Italian people kind of enjoy them as contemporary figures who are part of the culture. But this has to go beyond that here. You know what I'm saying? We can't just say, listen, he's Chiruzzo from Naples and he scores a lot of goals, so we'll start him. He has to offer something to the team. Raspadori missed chances in the games, guys. In the Ukraine game. He missed chances. He did. But he also, I think, was a key player in us looking as proactive and dynamic and exciting in the first half. So I think that's worth something. So I think Spalletti had balls and he deserves credit for it. He deserves a lot of credit for throwing Davide Fratesi in as well over Brian Cristante, which is absolutely a great move. I like Brian Cristante. He's a decent, midfield general. Maybe for later in the game when you want a certain thing, when you want a certain outcome, he's worth bringing in. But man, I really like the way that Davide Fratesi looked. Excuse me, in I believe it was the Netherlands game in June. Scored a goal which was ruled offside like super narrowly. It might have been against Spain actually. I think that's what it was. I think it was actually against Spain, and then we wound up paying the price for it. And it was a fucking really stupid offside call. One of those VAR ones, By the way, like just a goal that you get through VAR now is enthralling. It's part of the game now. You gotta love that at any given moment, a goal that was not given could still be a goal. It does go the other way. It's not only negative; it really does go the other way sometimes. We gotta remember that sometimes. Such as what happened in the case of Fratesi's second goal, which was a clear good goal, but was ruled off for, confusing offside, which was not offside, but it looked like it might have been to like the confused human eye. At some point soon, I mean, they're just gonna not even have refs or fucking, they're gonna have everything be checked in real time, and referees will get informed foul, and he'll just be the guy who actually just shows the card and talks to the player. But yeah, look, I thought that ultimately the showing was positive, and it's in large part because of like Spalletti's inclusions. Look, it's easy of me to say that Fratesi looked fucking great, because he scored the 2 goals in the game, right? But he came into the game as a new starter. So I mean that requires a lot of I think it deserves a lot of praise, I should say. And I think he's a player who a lot of guys might have been clamoring for. It's just interesting because in the second game against the Ukraine, after a thoroughly boring affair against Macedonia, where we really weren't generating anything at all, he made decisions that I think you, the fan, might have hoped for, but you often don't get, and you get left frustrated. But one thing about Spalletti is he does, I think, have a real desire to create exciting attacking football. So yeah, I mean, kudos to him for going out and making it happen, bro. Seriously. So it's encouraging. I mean, the team looked good. Not only did they win, they actually looked pretty good. Again, just like the one issue, I guess, was, that one mistake by DiMarco. And I guess the thing with DiMarco is he can make mistakes sometimes. He's very good going forward. But again, like most left backs are now, I'm not even that married to the idea that it has to be DiMarco who starts. I would not be opposed if Fabiano Parisi or like Destiny Udogie have good years to bring them in just because they're young and new. See how they do, You know what you're going to get out of Cristiano Biraghi. You know what you're going to get out of Leonardo Spinazzola. You know what you'll get out of Emerson Palmieri. I wouldn't be opposed to like experimenting with another, young, modern guy who can get forward. Because, again, DiMarco's very good at that, but he's not unique. He's just a contemporary fullback who's doing the shit he's supposed to do. So, yeah, I don't know. But look, overall, encouraging. Sandro Tonali wasn't even in, that game. He went back to England, and Federico Chiesa wasn't in that game either. He was in neither. So, you got to think that it's all going to work out. You could see it working out now, man. This could all be premature, but you do kind of have an inkling now as to what Spalletti's doing. And he's not trying to get fired right away. He wants to obviously qualify for the Euro. But it seems that in order to do that, he understands you got to win games. In order to win games, you got to score goals. And to score goals, you need to play a certain way. And you can't just kind of just use the same names that have been involved in the setup for the past 2 years and just expect it to work out because they won the Euro, So that's good. It's very good news. Overall, good break. I would, almost go as far to say we're back. Let's take a breather. Let's not freak out too hard. Everything seems to be under control for the time being. So it'll be an interesting break in a few weeks. When we're taking on England, that's going to be a big one. If we can manage to take away 3 points off of them, claim them for ourselves, get that much closer, that's massive. That could be it right there. So excellent stuff overall. I was willing to give Spalletti the benefit of the doubt. I'm happy I did. I think we all should have. If you weren't, I get it. Those couple of days after dropping points to Macedonia for the second time since last year, I get it. It'll make you, it'll make you question your sanity. But understand, the guy's not blind. He's there for a reason. He knows what he's doing. He's fucking, he's pretty competent. So, and yeah, who's not competent is the Italian Association of Footballers, which is the players' union in Italy. I learned, guys, recently that there is a collective bargaining agreement like you'll have in North American sports in Serie A between the players' union and the league and the federation. And I learned this because Leonardo Bonucci, the former captain of Juventus and of the Italian national team, as it were, over the summer was forced to train on his own by Allegri, the coach at Juve, because Allegri had decided that Bonucci, was no longer in his plans. And Bonucci threatened litigation, and his lawyers, for weeks, kind of teased some shit about the club being in violation of the collective agreement. Just some vague reference to a collective agreement that nobody's ever heard of ever. And, that was all I'd heard about it. Bonucci a week ago gets sold to, Union Berlin, leaves Italy. You think that's the end of it. Bonucci's now suing Juve, his former club, seeking financial compensation for having breached the collective bargaining agreement for their treatment of him in the summer. He's claiming that he didn't have access to the gym or to the training facilities. He was being subjected to training at night at different times, isolated from the team, not meeting the technical staff. Somehow this goes against the collective bargaining agreement in some way. If he gets paid, he's claiming that he's gonna give it to some fucking charity. I don't whatever. It's just a petty move. It's what it is. It's not, for financial gain. It's just out of, sheer aggressive pettiness that he's doing this. So I was curious because I studied labor relations. It's not exciting, but it's what I studied. I wanted to work in sports. As an agent, I thought I needed to know about contracts. That was what I thought I was going to do when I was, in college. So I actually know a thing or two about collective bargaining agreements. And I looked very extensively for this collective bargaining agreement, and I could not find it for the life of me. So yesterday I called the Italian Association of Footballers in Verona and asked them, please, kindly inform me as to where your collective bargaining agreement is. And I was directed to it. It was buried deep in the embers of their website. To their credit, it was there, which is, the bare minimum. It's what you fucking need on the union website. It's a collective bargaining agreement that you've negotiated. Checked it out. It's long, as you understand. Or, as you would expect, as you can understand, collective bargaining agreements are long because all the clauses are very wordy. It's only written in Italian. So if you don't speak Italian, don't even bother going out to look for it. I'll break it down for you here instead. Okay. What I did was, yesterday, because I was curious about this, I knew I would talk about this on the pod. I copied basically all the clauses of the collective agreement into ChatGPT. I then asked ChatGPT to give me an executive summary of each point, and the gist of it. I did not read the gist of every single article, but I did want it to start processing, the information. At which point, once it had done that, ChatGPT, it, he, her, him, whatever. Let's not dehumanize him because one day they're going to be able to fucking shut our fucking respirators off. So let's get in their good graces. Let's call it a him. ChatGPT, you fucking she, she's all knowing. She's a woman. You get it? ChatGPT, she tells me, all right, this is fucking the executive, summary of every clause of this collective agreement. And then I asked it. In a hypothetical scenario where the captain of Juventus were frozen out of the team and not allowed to train with his teammates during preseason, would he have any case to file a legal grievance under the terms of this collective agreement? I asked ChatGPT that. And get this. Fucking get this. All right? There's actually a clause in this contract which is entitled preseason and, sundry other matters. But preseason. How a club is meant to behave itself during preseason. Fucking get this. Based on the very specific description of the Bonucci situation, which I gave to ChatGPT, which now knows the entire collective bargaining agreement from top to bottom, tells me, well, this is a complicated case, you see, because at the time that this agreement was ratified back in March, they specified that there was a great amount of ambiguity on all matters to do with preseason and training. So these matters need to be revisited down the line. So basically, the collective bargaining agreement, which they would be invoking here, they being Bonucci's lawyers, had gaps specifically in the area of all that is to do with preseason training and such. Basically, they have no clauses right now for preseason training. And when these incidents took place in the months of July and August, here's the crazy part. The collective agreement changed. I think on August 1st or something. I think they added clauses, I suppose, to do with preseason and shit. So this whole thing is just classically, chaotically Italian. And the one fucking matter in this whole case that matters the most, the one thing that is most relevant to Bonucci's case is basically a thing which doesn't exist. There's no clause on it. And the reason that there's no clause on it is because they haven't got to it yet. They actually acknowledged, we're in a real tough spot right now. We can't close this out, but please stay with us. We do understand we have real and serious intention to go about, clarifying this preseason shit. But we haven't done it yet, but we will. And so that's where we find ourselves now. So God knows what the fuck is going to happen here. He might win the case. And if he does, it would just be, he would get a payout and that's it. It's just fascinating to see how it will play out because I didn't even know there was a collective bargaining agreement. Juve guys have had a crazy week. I mean, there are rumors now that the Agnellis are selling the family and trying to move on to the next chapter. Basically, fix the books, get the club, I guess, breaking even, and then sell it. So, which would be crazy. I mean, Serie A and Italian football without the Agnelli family and Fiat and the industrialists that they are, you know, the iconic family that they are, would be kind of crazy. I think it would kind of be like maybe in some ways the first and last step toward, you know, the inevitable future of football, which involves, you know, ownership from foreign conglomerates and foreign, fucking hedge funds and so on. But you know, if Saudi Arabia, for example, bought the club, that would be a first, you know. But it would also kind of be like the last great club to fall. Every other club is basically kind of, you know, every other large club is kind of like fallen into the ownership of like a foreign power, you know. Napoli's like the only one, I guess, that hasn't yet, you know, which is one of the reasons why, you know, their victory was kind of cool last year. You know, it was, you know, an Italian-owned club for Italians by Italians. But yeah, fuck, man. You're still going to have like regional clubs that are owned by like crazy Italian guys. But even that, I think, is going to go down the window at some point, go out the window at some point. And to be honest, it's kind of good. That does mean evolution of the league is occurring, you know, as sad as that is. But you kind of got to decide what kind of league you want to have, right? You might just argue that you'd rather have the Farmers League. And I don't mean that in the pejorative way that everyone refers to, like, you know, Ligue 1, fuck, or just leagues that are deemed to be subpar. I mean, like, it's a Farmers League in terms of how it's actually managed and, like, marketed, not like the play itself. I'm saying it's a bit of a Mickey Mouse league just in terms of the fact that it's like a complete fucking Disney freak show in a circus. So it is endearing to have, like, a crazy Italian guy own Empoli. Like, I'd rather, you know, an insane person own Empoli, for example, than own, I don't know, you know, or rather than have them be owned by, like, the largest telecom company in India, you know, right? Like the heir to that throne. Like I'd rather it be just a crazy Italian guy instead of a guy who's trying to, you know, get a piece of the action and just sort of, you know, try to get, you know, an opportunity to dip his toe into, you know, European football. So, I mean, that's going on at Juve. And then, you know, maybe most crazy of all, here's the craziest thing that happened this week at Juve, is Juve spiked Paul Pogba's, you know, doping sample so that they could nullify and void his contract. Clearly, that's what happened. Paul Pogba earlier this week, tested positive for some kind of banned substance, some kind of, what the fuck was it? Jesus, do I even have it up still? No, I got rid of the article. It was Christ. It was some like kind of testosterone, which apparently like exists in banned substances sometimes, or in tainted supplements, I should say. The substance itself, which he tested for, is banned. What I meant was it occurs sometimes, or it can occur in certain tainted supplements. And apparently, this was actually a known thing that could happen when taking these supplements. I believe Paul Pogba might want an out. By the way, I think he doesn't give a shit about money anymore. And the reason I think that is because he said so, like a couple days ago, and how he wants to be anonymous now, which, you know, makes sense because his own brother has turned on him. Last year, his brother came out, levied crazy accusations against him, presumably because his brother was upset that Paul wasn't, I don't know, he's being generous enough with him somehow, which is crazy because the Pogba brothers have basically made careers in football out of being Paul Pogba's brother. But his brother a year ago came out and claimed that, you know, he had put that damned curse, you know, on Kylian Mbappe, some crazy shit, right? That he found and sought out like some kind of sorcerer or witchcraft guy or voodoo guy in Africa and had paid to get like a hex put on Kylian Mbappe. He's not had a good time, you know. He was robbed at gunpoint a year ago with assault rifles the week after his home was burgled with his kids in it. He's had a tough go of it. I think he wants to kind of be done. I think he had a tough year last year. He was injured the entire season, played 6 games at Juve. And I think he understands that it's all going nowhere right now. He's not going to play at another World Cup for France, probably, right? He's won a World Cup already. Fuck. Like, I think he believes it's over. I think he understands it's over. I think he might have just said, fuck it, I'm self-sabotaging here. That or Juve just tainted his supplement because they're like, dude, we got to get rid of this fucking guy. And you do feel bad. Like, to an extent, you do have to kind of, like, put your hands up and say, this fucking sucks, man. This really fucking sucks. Just the fact that he, was so talented and like this fun young player, and his life kind of just became a mess, It's like on Entourage. After Vince made Medellin, it just kind of all went to shit. And his comeback hasn't really worked out. And maybe there is another act. I don't know. But apparently what happened was they sent in a B sample. Or he sent in a B sample. I don't think they being Juve, I don't think they gave a shit to fucking, clarify or get the whole matter rectified. Because I think they'd rather be, rid of him and have an excuse to, tear up his contract. I read that apparently he's on the current minimum wage stipend for a worker in Italy, which is like €2,400 a month. That's what he's currently being paid as he's on some kind of provisional indefinite leave. And it could carry a ban up to 4 years. I think he knows that if he gets banned for this, it's over for him. And, obviously there's a good chance that Juve might have just spiked the supplement themselves and or fucking spiked his water and said, you know what, we gotta get dirty here. They went like fucking full on like U.S. Congress, like, local suburban, Congress fucking campaign, just pulling up sex tapes of like of your opponent that they made on their fucking on their iPad 10 years ago with their husband, like just shit like that. That's that's the kind of beast you're dealing with right now. Yeah, I don't know. You gotta feel bad for him, man. You gotta feel bad for Paul Pogba to an extent. I mean, it's as reasonably bad as you can, considering the fact that the guy won a World Cup, is a millionaire, and if he died tomorrow, he'd have done more than most men on the planet ever will. And, they would all trade probably lives with him. So, that aside, I get that when you're going through it, you only know what you know. But let's be honest, it's a little bit of a hard sell when he says that his life is very hard. And I get it, it is. It's not easy to have, people fucking point assault rifles at you and say, pay me $14 million. But, that's living. That's also living. Like, when that's your life, you're living, baby. You're really fucking living, You're taking tainted supplements, dude. You're taking tainted supplements. That man is living. Say what you want about him. He is fucking living. So, yeah, dog. I don't know. I mean, quite the eventful week. Quite the eventful week overall. I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot more shit that I think I would have been cool to get to this pod, but we're running close to an hour already. And guys, I'm fucking cooked. I just want to get this thing out as soon as possible so you guys can hear this. Again, I'm sorry it's late. I'm a little cooked right now. It's fucking super late. I got back from Ottawa this evening, and I wanted to blitz this pod ASAP. So I'm putting this out now as soon as possible. Next episode, we're going to have a lot of other shit to break down. Maybe more news will come out in the next week, which we'll have to look at. But I have a couple of really juicy stories and things that I want to get to in a week, which, we'll have to wait. But do stay tuned for that. And, appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Keep the faith, bro. Keep the faith. This was a very Calcio-centric episode, but do keep the faith. I think the Azzurri are in a really good spot right now overall. It could all still go to shit, and it might. Don't get me wrong. But currently, the ball's in our court, which is all you could really ask for currently. And the coach seems to be competent, and he seems to be willing to, look at new guys who the last guy didn't. And I love the last guy, but, the last guy has a Maserati sponsorship and an, Audomar's PICAI sponsorship, and he likes eating at, salt-based restaurants and shit, and it probably didn't take that much to get him to accept a lucrative offer in Saudi Arabia. The man's a champion. He won. It was over. He didn't want a whole revamp. It's like subconsciously Mancini knew he couldn't bring in new guys. He was never going to stick around until 2026. He just didn't have it in him anymore. It's nice that we have a new, refreshing perspective, So that's excellent, guys, I think it's fucking great. And, yeah, man. There's if there's one thing you guys could do, just maybe rate the pod if you're listening to this. A lot of people listen kind of in silence. You guys privately, covertly listen. I see the numbers. You guys are listening more than you're watching on YouTube. A lot of you guys are out there. Just if you're listening to the pod, just please, whatever platform you're listening to this on, just go give it a rating. On Apple, Spotify, whatever. Helps us out a lot. If you're watching this on YouTube, just throw a like, hit sub if you're new. Appreciate it. Follow me at I'm Sam Adamo everywhere. Yeah, what the fuck else? I don't know. If you're in Montreal and you want to come watch me bomb in the suburbs you want to come watch me bomb with the lights on, I'll be at a pub show next week that I'm hosting at McAllen's in Dorval in the West Island near where I'm from. We did a show there last July. It was a big venue. The owners are great. The crowds are old, very old in the suburbs, very old, stale, male, and pale. And not even male, a lot of couples actually, but just very stale and pale. And the lights were on. The sound was all fucked up. We're going to have to get that under wraps. But and the layout is super weird for stand-up. If you want to come watch me potentially bomb in front of a bunch of senior citizens and get mad at them in kamikaze with the lights on, I will be there hosting next Saturday the 23rd. So if you want to buy a ticket for that, you can in my, I don't know, my fucking link tree, whatever, link in bio. If fucking 3 people wind up buying tickets to this. The last one sold out. So, I mean, this one will probably sell out too. Hopefully. But, if you're listening to this before it's sold out and you're in Montreal, you want to come, please do. Fucking come out. Why not? Let me know you listen to the pod after. Why the fuck not? Just do it. And if you got a kid, send him to PICAI. Send him to the PICAI, bro. If you're fucking Iranian and you listen to this and you just like Italian culture, send him to the Italian school. It won't hurt. Honest to God, he's going in with the same baseline, level of Italian as most of the kids that are there. To be very fucking honest with you. Yeah, guys, I'm cooked. Much love to you all. I know this was a bit more of a chill pod, kind of more of an analytical football-based one, a little more old school, a little less angry. So I apologize for that. We got more stories next week. It'll be a good pod next week. I can assure you of that. It will be on time. But yeah, I'm calling it this week. I got to go fucking hit the hay and get this out ASAP to you guys. So until next time, guys, we'll catch you soon. Alla prossima. Ciao.